Let's be honest, for most people, the idea of owning land or owning anything feels impossible now. Over the past 10 years, the price of houses has skyrocketed, turning something that was once achievable into a distant fantasy. A decade ago, buying a home was challenging, but still doable. Today, it feels nearly impossible. So instead of chasing a plan that was destined to fail, my wife and I decided to flip the script and build something of our own. We bought the rundown farmland no one wanted, and I'm about to show you exactly what it costs, what we didn't expect, and what we would do differently next time if we had the chance. No one tells you the full truth about buying land, but I will. I'm going to give you the full cost breakdown and tell you exactly what you need to know if you're thinking of doing the same. Just pulling the stencils off for the first time. Say this looks actually not bad, everything considered. Okay, the big idea here is we're going to tally up the price of the land with the buildings and the expenses like paperwork and legal fees, and then the surprise costs, the stuff we didn't expect. That's going to give us our total price. But before we talk about that, you need to know what I actually paid for. If you've seen my previous videos, you already know all of this information. But for people who haven't seen those videos, I got to give them a bit of info. Bear with me or fast forward 30 seconds. The land size. We bought 10 acres of land. The location is near Williams Lake, BC, 45 minutes outside of Williams Lake. The structures, we have 2 sheds, a barn, which I'm in now, and a house, a 924 square foot mobile home. The features of this land, 3 fields and 1 forest. All right, back over to the big cost board. Okay, we're back at the big board and we're gonna get right into the nitty-gritty costs. But before I do that, I should say that for the land and the building price, I can't say the exact amount for privacy reasons, and I'm gonna go off the valuation rather than what we actually paid, because it's basically the same thing, and it's also really helpful to know because some of you are gonna wanna buy small land with lots of buildings, and some of you are gonna wanna buy just land and a lot of it with no buildings. So the valuation of our land is $150,000 Canadian. And if you're really good at math, you've divided that by 10 acres and you've determined that that's $15,000 an acre. Now in BC and the bulk of the province, $15,000 an acre is actually really expensive, but it's because of all the buildings we got that the total price goes up. It's thought of as developed land and they can still charge more for it. But places in BC, you can get land for as much as $800 an acre. And if you spent $150,000 on that, you'd be at about 160 acres, which is wild. Okay, buildings. The buildings here are valued at $200,000, so more than the land. And the house itself was valued at 180 grand, which means that the barn that I'm in, plus the 2 sheds and the firewood shed, total are worth 20 grand, which is hilarious. All right. Expenses, this is paperwork, 20,000 Canadian. This includes the lawyer fee, realtor fee, transfer fees, all of that sort of paperwork, real estate sort of stuff. That's all included in the 20,000. All right, for surprise costs, things we didn't expect to pay in our first 3 months, $18,387.06. So that's for different things like the renovation. We didn't use a building inspector because my background is in the trades. I just did the inspection myself. But of course, since I'm not a professional, there's lots of stuff that I didn't find. And when I went to reno the bathroom, I found a bunch of mold and mildew that I had to rip out, and that was super expensive. The bathroom alone was like 14 or 15 grand. And we couldn't do the reno just in our cars, which are Toyota RAV4s. So we had to buy what we're calling our farm truck, which is a 2003 F350. That was $5,000 and taxes and insurance was $1,700. And so all of those different things go into our surprise costs. All right, can I get a drum roll, please? For the total cost, $394,887.06, all in, everything, including the farm truck. To me, that's a really good deal because in different parts of this province where the wages are frankly not that much higher, you can be paying 1.5 million for a falling down house or 1.2 million for a 40-year-old condo. Everything considered, I'd much rather pay this much for 10 acres that's a little bit run down than 1.2 million for a house in the city. Yes, wages are a bit lower here. Yes, it's a bit harder to find those white collar sorts of jobs we all love to do. But really, if you're willing to work in the trades or drive a truck or work at a mine, you can make $200,000 a year, which means you can buy a property like this every 2 or 3 years, which is ridiculous. And the guys who do make that much money buy hundreds and hundreds of acres up here, which is why all these 10-acre and 20-acre plots sit on the market for a year, like ours did. All right, that was the full nitty-gritty cost breakdown of what we paid for our land here in Central BC. But the next part of the video here is going to be for you people who are really thinking of doing this kind of thing yourself. And there was almost 1,000 comments on my last video, many of them asking how you can do this for yourself. There are some real considerations that can affect the price of your land. The first major thing that can affect the price of your land is things to do with zoning and permits. Our land is actually permit free. So all you really have to keep in mind here is if you want to build a house, you have to stay within BC building code if you want to get house insurance. But other than that, being where we are, you can build absolutely what you want. And my neighbors around here do that. There are some really funny looking houses around here. People just build what they want to the specifications that they want, and they have fun with it. Another big question is utilities and infrastructure. We're talking water, sewer, gas, electric. Now, this property came with all of those. The only caveat being that the sewer is a lagoon system, which is kind of nasty and really cheap. But we had it inspected before we moved in, and the lagoon guy said it was a really well taken care of piece of the property and that we wouldn't have any trouble with it. Now, you can pay a really small amount of money for a piece of land if it doesn't have any of these big four things. But if you do want fully serviced land like we bought, it does affect the price, which is why we're in the high 300,000 range. It is actually fascinating though. In my area, there are 5-acre lots fully serviced with septic fields for $175,000. And we even looked at one before moving in here. We just decided we'd prefer 10 acres. And a final big thing to think about when you're buying land is raw land versus clear land. So our land was cleared, which if we wanted to clear 7.5 acres of forest and turn it into fields like was done here, that would be $200,000 or $300,000 in equipment costs. But it was already done years and years before we got here. So we don't have to worry about stuff like that. And frankly, the 2.5 acres of forest we have in the back, we're just going to leave it as forest because we like it. What are the things that I would do differently and that I didn't realize? So we came into this property thinking we knew a lot, and because of my trades background, I might have known a bit more than the average person, but I still don't know more than a home inspector. When I went to renovate the bathroom, there was mold all in the floors and in the walls. When I went to renovate, as I was pulling things out, I started to notice this. The bathroom renovation, which was supposed to take a couple weeks, it ended up taking 2.5 months. So what are some setbacks and some things I overlooked here? I didn't realize that the sub panel in the shop would be such a problem. Because the sub panel no longer works and is no longer connected in the panel in the house, if I want power to the shop here and also want to be able to get house insurance, I have to hire an electrician, which is something called FSR certified, to come here and do all the work themselves and sign off on it, and have someone from the province come here and sign off on it. And if I don't do all that and jump through all those hoops, then I can't get house insurance. And last but not least, we got to chat operating costs, because you can buy a piece of property like this, but then not be able to run it. And what's the point? And that takes us to about $150,000 of operating costs over the next 10 years, or $15,000 a year. The cost savings that we get out of that is that we're basically not going to have to shop for groceries, or at least shop for food. So there you have it. That is the full cost breakdown and cost analysis. This is how we escape the rat race and escape the housing crisis. We could not be happier to be out here. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, hope you're doing well. Have a great day. See you on the next video. Cheers.